All right, Richard, for anybody who doesn't know you, what is Target Leads and who do you help?
We are a lead generation company. We've been in business for 40 years. We're primarily in the direct mail space, but also work in digital and inbound calls, and also work to marry direct mail to digital. So we're utilizing the postal address and the IP addresses of the devices in the house to kind of omni-channel attack messaging. Uh, Businesses, and our primary vertical is the insurance space.
Okay, cool. So you've been running it since 1985, right?
I have been running it more like since 2008, but we've been
2008.
in business since 1985. I'm not that
Okay,
old.
cool. How'd you guys get started in the direct mail space and the lead generation world?
My family bought this company in 1992. We just saw it as a good opportunity for a business with longevity, and we were right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
That's awesome. So with uh with the new shift and AI being released out into the public, how does that impact direct mail and are you guys using it at all in your business for lead generation?
Yeah, we're not using it that much in lead generation currently. There's a couple ways that we are leveraging it. One, there's a company that I'm partnered in that a big advocate for is called Agent Review, agentreview.net. And that's a review site geared towards insurance agents to help them be much more efficient and effective in their reputation management as well as their review management. And there's a lot of AI enhancements inside of that arena that help consumers just write better reviews. And there's some other enhancements in there. Um, one place that we found it to be really helpful is in translation. We used to spend a lot of money to translate lead pieces into a lot of different languages, and now we can
Hmm.
really just use AI to do it for free in 2 minutes, and then hand it back to the client and say, "Does this read right?" So it's really streamlined creative processes in different languages, and really taking the cost down from a couple $100s to $0. So that's been really helpful. The other place that it's been impactful in our business is that we're finding more and more clients coming to us because people are now searching, utilizing ChatGPT and other platforms rather than Google. So
Hmm.
with our longevity and our really positive Google review uh, portfolio, we're getting a lot of leads coming directly from chat.
That's really interesting.
Yeah,
I've never thought about that. You think
y-
about
y-
SEO and then ChatGPT might be like the new SEO for a lot of people.
yeah. So I don't have the stats at my fingertips, but I think it was even Google that said that they're expecting Google searches to decline by 25% over the next, I don't know, I don't have it in front of me, 12, 24 months, because people are going there. Like, what's the best, direct mail lead generation company for Medicare supplement? Well, if you do that, we're going to pop up. And again, because it's looking for uh, customer validation, customer iterations, and they're pulling a lot of that from review sites. And well, that goes back to the agent review conversation we had just a second ago. Is that by having a robust review, um, uh, set of reviews, it tells these AIs that this is a reputable and knowledgeable entity. Yeah, so uh, how you look online, these AI search tools are scanning that stuff first.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a big deal moving forward. So
Yeah, for sure.
pay attention to what you look like online because
Yeah.
that's where they're scraping the data from.
Yeah. Interesting.
Hmm.
I've never heard about that before. That makes a lot of sense though. That's really cool.
Yeah, if you do a quick dive, using Google, right? You do a quick dive and anticipated. Google search traffic over the next couple of years, you'll see some interesting trends that are occurring right now.
Oh.
And so I have a daughter that's in college, and she's in a business program, and all of these younger people, they're going straight to chat uh, to ask questions before they're going to Google these days.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Mhm.
know it's crazy. I'm in my last year of college as a biomedical engineering student. So, yeah, it's for sure integrated all over in college,
Yeah,
and I think it's just going to keep getting more prevalent as well. So,
so she's a junior. What was interesting is that her freshman year, they're like, if you use chat for anything, we're going to kick you out, kind of deal.
mhm.
And now it's uh and now they're like, here's how you use it, right? Now it's all about utilizing it and teaching them, best practices for using it, et cetera. So just in 18 months, this massive university has completely changed course on their view and understanding of this isn't going anywhere. So let's use it ethically, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
So, what's one principle that you don't think has changed at all when it comes to marketing and getting consistent leads?
Um, first and foremost, with any platform, whether it's digital, a telephone call, direct mail, you've got 3 seconds to be interesting. Um,
Hmm.
so the first impression of any advertisement is really critical. Though I say, you got 3 seconds to get their attention, and then you've got 7 seconds to keep it. So, first impact is really critical. And then, past that, it's don't lie to people, right? Like there's so many gray areas in advertisement, especially in lead gen, that you can play on the edges, and it doesn't provide for a good, like while you may be able to generate a lot more leads for cheaper, if you kind of skirt edges, no one's going to have a good experience. No one's going to sell anything. The consumers are going to get really agitated that they thought it was X, it was really Y. So I think being really truthful and upfront and forthright in your messaging is really critical to having a lasting company, a lasting campaign. Getting back to review management, I don't know how we spend so much time in review management, but if you're an advertiser playing on the edges, you know, pretty quickly, your reviews start to look really bad, and you get a really bad reputation.
So, reputation means a lot when it comes to the marketing
If you
world.
if you want to be in, so we're 40 years, right?
Hmm.
So if you want to be in business for 40 years, you better protect your reputation. And that means doing right by the customer. But from a lead gen perspective, it really means doing right by the consumer,
Yeah.
right? Be authentic, be truthful. It's better to pay more for leads and more for, eyeballs and all of those things when people are actually buying those products, and also the consumers having a good experience. It didn't feel like, they got the rug pulled out from underneath them.
Yeah, for sure. So, what have you guys done consistently to make sure that your campaigns stay effective?
Um, it's kind of the basic core principles. You got a few seconds to get their attention, and then give them something meaningful in a very easy way, a very easy call to action.
Okay.
Forever in the direct mail space, forever the mechanism of reply was to send back a card. And I mean, we still have programs where people still write their name and information on a card and send it back. But the advent of QR codes and taking people to pearls and just making it really a really seamless experience for the consumer to respond.
Make it easy.
um yeah. Make it easy, as easy as few friction points as you can have, and as easy as you can make it for everyone. The better lead campaigns typically go.
Yeah. What would you say is one mistake that you see companies making over and over and over again? with their marketing or lead generation nowadays?
It goes back to what I said a minute ago. People play it on the edges. So a good example of that is um, it's like a logic tree. So someone you do an advertisement for inexpensive cell phone plans. And then you get them to a website and you ask them 7, 10 different questions. And then based upon how they answer some of those, like, oh, now I have an insurance lead, or oh, this person might be leaning towards, car insurance. And really they're looking for cell phones. And so then you get lead aggregators and say, oh, an auto lead. And it's really not like they answered something like, yeah, yeah, of course I'd be interested in lowering my, monthly costs. But really, that wasn't the impetus of their response. So a lot of people are trying to like get too much juice out of the squeeze, and as a result lead quality really goes down. And so they're selling things that are like kind of a lead for that product, and then the cost per acquisition just goes up. So like, oh, I I guess the best way I could say this is, be wary of cheap leads.
Hmm.
People come to me and they're like, oh, you're selling this for, $50, but I can get it over here for $20. And my response is, great, go buy them for $20. I'll see you in a month.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, always be wary of cheap leads. It doesn't mean that there aren't some people out there that have found a way to generate leads at a very low cost that are good. And, the percentage that turn into appointments or turn into sales are more than adequate. But, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Quality over quantity and
Yeah,
the
but it's always a numbers game, right? So
Mhm.
there's got to be some balance, right?
Yeah.
You can't, people are like, oh, I was like, I can get you a lead that's going to guarantee a sale. It's going to cost you $1,000. Like that doesn't work,
Mm,
right?
no.
So there's some balance of really good quality, but you've also got to have the quantity, knowing that if you can consistently close 1 out of 5 of whatever leads, the math probably works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that balance, how do you achieve that balance?
So testing.
Just massive amounts of volume when it comes to testing?
Yeah, you've got to have good partners. I give you an example. We let's just say we've got a lead piece that we've been using for years, and big companies are buying 1,000 of them a week kind of deal. And then some entity comes in and tries them and says, oh, these leads stink. And the real answer is, no, you stink.
Mhm.
Like you're not interested and you're not good at sales. It's not the lead, it's you. So when you have a baseline of a program or a lead type that's working, again within those basic parameters of the math works, a lot of times it comes down to the entity that's working those and their system and their processes, and also how good are they on the phone, or whatever the interaction is in the first 10 seconds. So you get the lead, but then how are you handling it, right? And so back to AI, there's a lot of good programs that are nurturing leads, up to some point, or even selling them completely, utilizing AI and putting people in a funnel and walking them through the process, and purchasing straight on. But if again there's friction points and the consumers don't like the experience, they're going to close the browser or in the chat, or hang up on a person.
Yeah. Interesting. That's a so oh, I just lost what I was gonna say.
Hmm.
I was gonna go back to where you guys were just doing traditional direct mail, right?
Hmm.
And then you kind of
Correct.
switched to digital as well.
Yeah, yeah, we've got some good partners that we lean on and have partnered with, and do some proprietary things to provide, quality digital leads and inbound calls. So we, we like inbound calls a lot more than transfers. inbound call, someone's seen an ad, and would you like to, would you, again, to be clear, would you like to speak to a licensed agent about, car insurance, right? Specific, very specific, not something kind of on the edges. And so then they call directly and it rings straight to, a licensed agent. Like, hey, let's talk about your car insurance. Um, so yep, yep. Direct mail still continues to be a major player, and more often than not, the ROI on good direct mail still trumps most other avenues. It's very easy to get a lot of eyeballs on ads on TikTok and Instagram for a low amount of money. But the targeting in there has become a little bit more difficult. So in direct mail, we can get extremely targeted to whom we're mailing. Age, income, home ownership. We can get into lifestyle stuff. So, I play golf. So if you send me a postcard about, golf clothes, I'm going to look at it. I may not buy anything, but I'm definitely going to look at anything golf related. So when you can infer um, characteristics about consumers, you can put very appropriate messaging in their mailbox. And so one of the things that differentiates mail from digital is that it's really easy to just to continue the scroll, right? Blah blah
Mhm.
blah. But like you have to physically touch your mail every day, right? I mean, even if it's, I mean, everyone does it. You get your pile and you make a pile that's going to go in the trash. You make a pile that you're going to look at, and make a pile of bills that, you got to deal with. And so, if you're, getting back to the 3 seconds or maybe even a second and a half, if you've got an interesting offer on the outside of an envelope or a postcard, and you're targeting the right person with a message that they're probably going to be interested in, um, you've got a good shot at response.
So do you think with AI and with um, all this online digital marketing now, do you think it's going to switch back to more traditional direct mail, or do you think it's going to continue to just keep scaling the other way?
I think that it's going to continue to be a mix.
Okay.
So when Google ads first came out and then Facebook ads came out, I've been here through the whole rise, is that it's like the pendulum just like continues to swing back and forth. And so, we watched, vast sums of marketing dollars move back and forth. And then, oh, okay, now it's Facebook. So people were pumping a bunch of money into Facebook and it was great for a minute. And then they're like, wow, our lead quality is really going down, or our lead quantity is really going down. And so, most of our clients do a pretty good mixture of direct mail with calls and with digital. So I think that the real answer is that depending upon your brand and what you're trying to achieve, that a mixture is really the appropriate um, plan for the future. Again, with our targeting, we're gonna, there's a lot of people that are never going to respond online, and there's a lot of people that are never going to respond via mail. And so when you're really trying to hone in specifically, like geographically, if you've got a county of 10,000 people that are in your market, hitting all those people 2 or 3 times a year with a piece of direct mail is usually pretty pertinent. I'll give you I mean, an example is gyms. We do a pretty reasonable amount of business with gyms. They're like, oh, well, there's competition, right? In every community, there's a handful of gyms, everything from the big ones to mom and pops and Pilates studios and all these different things. And so putting your message in front of those people, direct mail still has a very big play. Med spas, med spas are everywhere. And we do a reasonable amount of business in that arena as well. Typically it's, here's all the things that we do. And, go look at our Google reviews. Everyone loves us. And, bring in this postcard or, shoot this QR code and you're going to get, a free B12 shot with, any other treatment, some enticement in there. Um, but, you know a lot more about how your firm is utilizing AI, in generating leads and taking people through
Mhm.
the buying process. I know a lot more about finding the right people to put the right message in front of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with the future and AI and just like all this kind of switch to you guys going partially digital too. What are you looking forward to most in the future, do you think?
It's a good question. You know, one place that we've been successful and continue to be is where we're marrying the physical address to the IP addresses. And that's really exciting because we're seeing lead response rates really be enhanced, really grow. So, kind of what that looks like is, let's just say, October 28th, 29th, 30th, we're using display ads on Google and Meta. And then on November 1, they're getting an oversized postcard. And then November 2, they're getting an email. And then another trail of 3 or 4 days with targeted ads to to those people. And so you're really getting your message in front of those people, and they're seeing it a multitude of times. Whereas direct mail, you kind of got one piece of mail every 60, 90, 120 days is kind of we use a 90-day model where we try not to remail any household for 90 days. It just kind of beats up the house, and it's rude.
Hmm.
um, so being able to marry those things and really help people be very dense in their geography is an exciting thing, and it's working really well. The other thing is, you know, I mean, to be frank with you, TikTok's pretty interesting, right? I mean, there's a lot of things in there, and it really opens up younger audiences. So we've played kind of more in the mature audience for a long time. And so using TikTok, um, I, I, I think that well, I mean, obviously there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
So, if you were to go back and start target leads from scratch with no network, no, I guess, client base, no reputation, how would you do it? Or what would you do differently?
Um, well, the people like to do business with people. So we spend a lot of time with clients. We spend a lot of time at conferences. I get on a plane, quite frequently to go have dinner with people, and and as much as we can use machines to blast everything, the personal relationships are really what build long-standing business relationships. So I don't know how much different we would have done things, or I would have done things, where with my company, we really put customer service as like the pinnacle of how we function. And it sounds cliche to be like, oh, we're excellent at customer service, but we are. And it took us a long time to become so excellent at it that our systems and our processes are pretty firm and really efficient, so that not only do our clients have a good experience, but also the people in my company, we mitigate some nonsense and some frustration. Um, and that helps with client retention. So, it's a lot easier to keep clients than it is to get new ones. So, I think that being hyper focused on your customers' needs and how to make it really easy to do business with you is a really, really important business fundamental that we try to live every day. Sometimes we fail, but for the most part, how we do business is is pretty frictionless, and that makes a good experience for everybody involved. So if I were to start over, I would I would probably spend even more time on the road, meeting with clients and you know becoming friendly and try to trust each other. And the other thing is sometimes you've got to know when to fire a client. So there's probably a few clients that I probably should have fired sooner. People that are difficult and complain a lot. Like you never really seem to make that much money with, and you spend a lot of time with. So that's probably something that I could have been better at over the last 20 years, is saying no. I always want to say yes, yes, and can you do this? Yes, and that's going to cost this much. Um, that's something that I know that I could have been better at.
How do you how do you go about, or how do you know when somebody is being more detrimental to your business than they are being like a positive impact on your business?
Y- Yeah, I mean, at this point, you just kind of know. You're like, oh man, this person's going to be a problem. There's red flags that come out in conversations, and you're like, oh man, this person's going to be a problem. Um, and I always, I'm a big believer in second chances, even third chances. But it's kind of like after that third time, I feel like, man, you're doing everything you can to like ensure that I don't make a penny. Like, you want a refund for everything, and like, nothing bad happened, but you're determining that this isn't working. And like, it kind of goes back to the salesperson that I mentioned a minute ago. Like, my leads don't stink because, like, your organization stinks at closing leads. Um, I, I'm sure that you can easily wrap metrics around it of, how many orders versus how many complaints and how many requests for refunds and just like overall time spent. Like we know, we know in our average stuff, how long communication should, how many communications should take place before an order's placed, and I think it'd probably be easy to wrap around some metrics of, once you get over seven, you've probably got a potential problem here.
But you'd still say overall that instead of metrics or analytics, it's just more of you just kind of know, it's like a gut feeling because you've just
Yeah,
experienced it.
yeah. Sometimes you're talking to some people and you just kind of like feel icky. You're like, something's not right here. And when you're starting in business, and you're playing in a niche. So when you're playing in a niche, even though niches can be extremely big, reputation in there is really important. And I've always been afraid of, oh, this person's going to go run and tell so and so that we were jerks and that we didn't do right by them. And so I think that's probably a big reason why I let some clients go on longer. I'm afraid of them running around and telling people that are above them and below them, don't do business with target leads because blah blah blah. And in the process, like what I realized over time is that the people that they're going to go run and tell, like the bigger players, like they know us. They're gonna be like, man, they're not the problem. You're the problem. So like, it's like what I tell my kids is like, if you find someone, like, so let's just say you go to the grocery store, and there's someone in line and they're giving the checkout person a really hard time, and then you see them in the parking lot and they're yelling at the person that parked too close to them. I'm like, have some empathy for those people, because this is how they live their life. They're always in a state of chaos and conflict, and that's no different than in business, right? Like, I'm like, these people live this way. This is how they do everybody. And so like I try to have empathy for them, but I also can't allow them to berate my staff.
Yeah. At some point, there's got to be a cutoff for sure.
So at some point there's a cutoff. And this was a good lesson that was given to me, is that is when you have one of these people, you go like, okay, listen, like I'm not sure this is going to work. So I need you to do me a favor. Can you help me out? And if you ask people for help, everyone will say yeah. So you say, yeah, yeah, yeah. You just like, look, I'm trying to make this work. So, just do me a favor. You have a pen and paper. Yeah, one second. Okay, I got a pen and paper. You're like, all right, write this down. All right, 1-800-555-1212. Like, well, what's that phone number? You're like, that's my competitor. They do a really good job. Like, give them a call. They'll be able to help you out moving forward. And they're like, what? And you're like, yeah, like we this isn't working for either of us. So call them and they'll take care of you. And you'd be amazed at what that does. It puts them on their heels. Like, oh my God, well, well, I want to work with you. I'm like, well, I can't work like this. Like, this isn't working for us. So it does one of two things. One, they either start playing by your rules, or they're like, great, I'll call them. You're like, perfect, perfect, please do. So I'll tell you a funny story. We were at a conference and I was with two of my competitors, and we're friendly competitors, and we all respect each other, and we're very much in competition with each other. And we have been for 20 years. And again, we all respect each other. And I'm telling this story. And I'm like, yeah, when I get one of those people, I do this and I give them this person's phone number. And one of the guys started laughing. He's like, that's amazing. And the other guy said, I do the exact same thing. Like, like I give him his phone number too. And we just laughed. Like, yeah, like yeah, you know. If you're
That's,
difficult, I'll give you someone difficult to deal with. You two can be difficult together.
that is so smart. I've never thought about that.
Yeah, like just get rid of them. Like, when you think about investment, so if you're looking for money for your company, there's a great saying that not all money is the same, right?
Hmm.
You can get $100,000 from me, or you can get $100,000 from the person from whom I give that phone number, right? Like, I'm going to be way less combative and demanding than that person, right? So, it's like not all money is the same, and not all money's worth the money, right? Take a client like we're talking about here that's difficult. Like, okay, let's say you did $10,000 worth of business a year with, and you're at 50% profit. Okay, so let's say you make 5 grand on that, but you spend all of this time and energy, and they needed half of it refunded. That client ended up costing you 2 grand rather than you making 5 grand. Like, get rid of it. Get rid of it. There's other people out there. So watch your karma, and don't put up with people that don't respect you.
I think that's really good advice. So if, because I'm sure the only way you can learn this is just, it's got to be just a lot of volume of bad interactions with people, right? To get that gut feeling more honed in.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I started in this business 24 and a half years ago. So I was 23 years old. You're still in college, right? So, when I was starting out, I was like, why would we ever say no to business, right? Like, we need, money, money, I need more money. I'm starting a family, and then I realized, whoa, whoa, that money is, that invoice is actually costing me money, and it's making my blood pressure go through the roof.
Is it, it
And
is it
yeah,
typically the
mhm.
same people? Like, is there similarities with the people that cause problems? Like, are they typically wanting cheaper prices, or are they just like
it's,
it's difficult
it's
to deal
it's
with in general?
yeah, it's all of that. I mean, the best answer I can give you is just go back to the grocery store scenario. The same people that you see in grocery stores, yelling at the people behind the deli counter. It's the same general stuff. They want everything. They want it, faster, cheaper, better, blah blah blah, and they don't really want to pay for it. So one of my friends gave me a great line. He's like, "Fast pay makes fast friends," and so we do everything in our power to pay invoices as quick as humanly possible. We brought on a new supplier the other day, and they're like, "Oh, you can pay us in 30 days." I'm like, "Well, can I pay you in 10 days?" And they're like, "Why?" I was like, "Because why should you? Well, like, I don't see why you need to sit on that, like, not have that money sit on that paper for a while." And they're like, "Oh man," I was like, "Yeah, let's do things faster." I bought it. Bill it for me. Here, I'll give you a credit card. I'll ACH you right now. So fast pay makes fast friends, and just I'd be wary of people that want really long terms. We deal with some very large companies, and we're subject to their corporate policies, and they're good clients and they're good partners, and so sometimes you have to take payment longer. But I always find that to be one indicator of if you're going to have a problem is how long are they trying to string out payment.
Okay. Huh. So do you think, I wonder if, I wonder if you increase, like if businesses increase prices, if it filters out some of those clients that they don't want to be working with.
Yeah, yeah. Always be afraid of the race to the bottom with pricing, right? Like we are highly competitive in our pricing, but you can always go somewhere lower. I mean, in your so what do they say? You can have best price, the best service, and the best quality, but you got to pick two out of the three,
Interesting.
right?
I think that
Yeah,
completely
price,
makes
service,
sense too.
yeah, price, service, and quality. Okay, well, pick two. All right, you want the best price? Okay, well, the quality is going to go down a little bit, or the service is going to go down a little bit. Right? You want incredible service and you want incredible quality. Okay, well, the price is not going to be a basement price. It's going to be a fair price. It's going to be an appropriate market price. But if the market's $100 and someone's trying to sell you something for $50, be careful.
If it's too good to be true, it usually is.
Totally, totally.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I think you shared a lot of really good advice. A lot of good takeaways there. What do you think the best way for listeners to get in touch with you is? One thing
Yeah,
about target
yeah,
leads.
yeah. You can go to targetleads.com. I'm real easy to find on there. Targetleads.com. Yeah, it's Richard at targetleads.com.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks again for your time, Richard. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Lucas, thanks for reaching out.